Hey, Andy.
Hi, Kate. How are you?
I'm good. How are you doing?
I'm good. Hi, Deborah. I'm just going to change my name on here.
Thank you. I don't know why I'm having so much trouble getting into these meetings, but I appreciate all your work.
Yeah, we're just getting going, and sometimes we have to figure out who's supposed to be the admin. Is that shirt I like, Kate? Or is that another new one?
I'm just going to assume you like all my shirts, Sandy.
I do.
So yes, it is. No, I don't know if this is an East Coast thing or just a me thing, but pretty much all my shirts are black tank tops of some sort.
Yeah, I have a lot of black myself, so
like, it just works.
Yeah.
Oh, I just got this chapstick. Sorry, I like it so much. I got it at the flea market, and it's actually really, really good.
Oh, and is it all natural then?
Oh yeah, because flea market, they've got all that stuff, but it's Buddha butter. It's got a little
Buddha butter.
But I'm also like I'm chapstick junkie. So for me, I'm like, ooh.
This summer has been really bad for me, and I'm not sure if it was like pollen, allergy kind of sinus related or what, but my lips get chapped, and then I finally get them like, oh, good, and then all of a sudden it's like, boom, they're chapped again. And I'm like, oh, so I must be fighting something, and it's just showing up that way. I don't know.
I don't know. I mean, it's been a dry summer.
Yeah, I've had the same problem. And,
really?
And getting real dry mouth so that need to go get something to drink.
Right. All right, I'm just letting in a couple people.
Okay.
Morning. Can you hear me okay?
You're a little quiet, but I'm a little loud, so.
I was on Zoom meet last night and my microphone was not working unless I was shouting.
Oh.
I got you a new headset, Irene. Where is it? Here we go.
I can't see it.
Well, I got you a new headset, so next time I see you, I'll give it to you.
Oh, did you get it from Staples through 9 to 5?
No, I got it through Amazon through the Becca Linnekin account.
Oh, all right. Well, I'll owe you for that. Thank you, Becca.
Good morning, Sandy.
Good morning. How are you?
You and I were on a call together on Tuesday, but you probably didn't know it. You were on the Women's March Text Back Tuesday.
Oh, were you on there?
I'm a super volunteer.
You're in the 10K? Are you in the 10K, whatever?
Oh, I don't know. I'm just called a super volunteer. I help moderate the Zoom breakout rooms.
Oh, nice.
I hoped you would be in my room.
I skipped out of the breakout rooms, maybe. Sometimes I'm there for like, just give me the facts, man. That's all I want is the facts, and I'm out of here. Yeah.
I just bought a new planner journal, so I'm going to become organized now, and my life is much improved, FYI.
Is it a hard copy or electronic?
Oh, no, it's physical.
Yep. Nice.
That's all I need is a planner and the right lipstick, and my life is perfect.
I'm not why you guys are talking about written planners. My goodness.
Because this meeting was on my computer calendar twice and on my phone calendar 0 times. So I double booked and had to scramble this morning. So that's why I'm trying a paper planner.
Yeah, well, Google Calendar is everywhere.
Yeah.
Hello, Deborah.
But they don't talk to each other.
Hello. Thank you.
Yeah, well, you never got the notification from midday?
I got your information about the agenda, but I never got the link.
Wow. So Sandy, I manually registered Deborah, clicked the button that said send notification, and I don't know what happened.
I can go look.
It doesn't like me.
No.
Like, do you think it went to spam?
No, I always check spam because a lot of my stuff goes to either trash or spam. There was nothing. Weird.
Oh,
Can
let me
you
go look.
can you tell Sandy if it
Yep.
sent the notification?
Yep,
Yeah?
I have, yeah, we have email tracking on here, and it not only says if it went, it says if it was opened or clicked or what.
Oh.
So I don't see, yeah, Deborah's on here, so signed up on the 1st, right?
Yeah, Irene did that.
Yeah.
Let me go see the log.
And also, Deborah was having problems registering through the wild apricot. So that's
Yep.
why I manually registered her.
It says, Deborah, that you opened it. It was delivered.
When did it say it was delivered?
Well, it's 9/1 at 4:57 p.m.
Weird. It's probably me. You know, maybe I was in my other body experience or something when I opened it. I don't know. I couldn't find it.
So it says email was open, but none of the links were clicked, which there's not really a link. It's just contacting Irene and I. Huh.
Very weird.
Yeah.
Well, we'll try again next month.
That's right, Deborah. I will always be your backup. Okay.
Thank you.
Okay, so I've heard from Vic Heinrich. So I don't think she's come to a meeting in almost a year. So Sandy, I heard from Vicki. She again is tied up in a house inspection, and she's not going to make it.
Okay.
That happens to her a lot, it seems.
Well, sometimes that day job stuff, huh?
Yeah, really. The only person missing is Cindy Carter.
Okay. All right. Well, it's like 6 after. It's up to you if we think we should probably get going, because sometimes Cindy gets bombed off too into something else.
Yeah, let's get started. And I thought we'd just do some quick introductions. Since last month we didn't have time, and Deborah's new to us, so I thought we'd just start with name, a little bit of your professional background, length of time with Midday, and I guess that might be enough to start with, right?
Sure.
So I guess I'll go first. Irene Strobin. I had a pretty good career with Kimberly Clark in the research field, product development. Then I went off on my own. I am, I guess, a consultant in product development. And these days I have a lot of flexibility and time for volunteer work. Although I'm currently now also under contract with 9 to 5, working on paid leave, paid sick days, and childcare support. I've been involved with Midday since 2009 and been on the board since 2010, mentoring past president, entrepreneur grant, and mentoring again, and presidential advisor, and some other things. But, so we'll go clockwise according to my screen. So Kate, would you like to go next?
Yeah, so it's name, history, length of time, and Midday.
That's good.
Okay, yeah. Good. Just want to make sure. All right. My name is Kate Moody. I was a librarian for a long time, and now I run my own personal finance, education, and coaching business. And I am the recipient of that grant that Irene was talking about this year. And it's been amazing so far. So that's been cool. And I've been involved in Midday for a year and a half now. I think I went to my first meeting 2 years ago, but I started on the board a little over a year ago as bylaws chair, and now I'm chair of the bylaws update committee as well.
You want to take somebody?
Becca, would you like to go next?
You bet, Irene. Thanks. I'm Becca Linnekin, not to be confused with LinkedIn. And I have a career in marketing and sales and training in B2B high-tech companies. I left that part of the world to pivot my career, and I am currently working as an action network leader for 9 to 5 with an amazing boss. And I have also been looking very diligently for a full-time forever job. And I've been with Midday about 2.5 years now. And I am only, I think, on this committee, and that's because of Irene's kindness, because I'm not actually a member.
Great, thanks, Becca. Deborah, on my screen, you would be next, going clockwise.
Okay, I'm Deborah Wetter. I spent 40 plus years in public transportation all over the country, started in California, ended up in New Orleans as the general manager for all the trains running out of New Orleans. I worked for Amtrak for 9 years. And then I worked in the private sector transportation for a while. And then I came here and I was the general manager of Valley Transit for 8 years. I have been retired since 2016. I've been in Midday for, I think, a month, maybe a month and a half, but I did get to go to a meeting before pandemic. So I've actually known about you all for longer than that. There are several people that from my book club who are members of Midday, which is how I got into Midday. And I'm very active in the Downtown Rotary. I've been on several boards, not any right now. I have a 97-year-old father who lives in Wausau, and every 2 weeks we go over, because he lives by himself in his house. He's very independent. And we go over and do things that he can't do for himself and stay with him and keep him company, because he's been pretty much housebound since December, I think. It's horrible. And then I also have a almost 5-year-old granddaughter who lives 3 blocks away, and she keeps me fairly busy as well. Both ends of the spectrum.
Yeah. Well, welcome, Deborah. I actually first heard your name when I first joined the League of Women Voters, and I was RTA committee.
Oh, great. Yeah, still don't have it.
Yeah.
But not for lack of trying.
Yeah, that's right. Okay, Sandy.
Okay, I had to look it up, but I think my membership started in 2016. So this would be 4th year, whatever. I retired from Kimberly-Clark, and a friend of mine, Marjorie Sutter, said, you need to go join Midday. And then I joined Midday, and then Irene's like, now you need to go do this. And so then that's where like League of Women Voters and that kind of activity comes in. I have been on foundations as a chair. That's where I started on the board. I moved to Welcome and then membership, which is where I currently am as a VP of membership. And then I support the website. I'm interim chair with Irene for legislation. I don't know, anything else we want to put in there? We're gonna do a couple other fun things coming up soon, but so yeah, and my thing right now is everything about getting out the vote. So legislation's right up that alley. But yeah, thoroughly enjoying it.
Yep. We keep busy post employment, I guess.
Yes.
I will not say retired. It doesn't feel retired, right? Okay. So in the documents that I sent out, you'll see you had a chance to look quickly at the schedule of platform education that I attached. It's just real quick. This is the that we committed to doing an update on or education on the first platform item that deals with equality in employment. And it was Kate and me, and Kate has done like most of the work. And so we're going to hear from Kate about merely about equal pay. I do have that video teed up, and hopefully I can get this screen share to work with my video. Should take about 12 minutes. So I'll turn the mic over to Kate.
Thank you, Irene. How much time do I have according to the agenda, by the way, about ballpark?
Our agenda is a little bit loose, but I think you and I talked about, didn't we talk about 20 minutes or so?
More or less, yeah, something like that. Okay,
Yeah.
Great. So I have prepared a presentation. I'm going to stop my video because somewhere between my computer and my internet connection, my computer will break down if I don't. So I'm going to stop that. I'm going to share my screen here. Okay, one sec. It's not showing my presentation. Boop, 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 boop. Share screen. There we go. Okay.
Oh, yeah. And Kate, we're going to probably want this, if you can email it to me afterwards.
Yeah.
We'll put it.
Yeah, I put in notes, which I think are understandable by people who aren't me, and flesh out the slides a bit more.
Okay.
Okay.
Yeah, because we'll add it to our resource page when it's published.
Okay. All right. Good. All right. So let me move this here. All right. So this presentation is how do we achieve pay equality through the law? And I found that fortune cookie image and I was like, that is accurate. It's the first, oh, we'll get there. Okay. Anyways. Boop, boop. All right. So at first, let's go back, a few thousand, 100 years, whatever. Women are doing just a ton of unpaid labor at home. And eventually, we're expected to work for no pay. So we're going to fast forward 1,000 to 100 years. And eventually it gets to the last 100 years or so, and women start entering the workforce and becoming awesome Peggy Olsons. If you guys haven't watched Mad Men, this is an amazing scene where this is actually very appropriate because she was at her firm and they were underpaying her and underappreciating her. And she found another firm that said, hey, we like you. We know what we're going to help you out. We know how good you are and how valuable you are. And she was like, all right, I'm out. So she did what was best for her wallet. Okay, here's a figure of women in the employment. Oops. Let me move this. Shoot. One sec. Move. There we go. Labor force participation. Now, the blue line is sort of the most important line to this presentation. It shows that by 1948, about a third of women between the ages of 25 and 54 are working. In 2 decades, it rises to a half. Another 2 decades, it's at 3/4, which in the grand scheme of thing, from that original image of women who are laboring at home, that's actually pretty quick when you think about it. So within 40 years, really, the structure of household income is changing dramatically. But people are so accustomed to thinking of men as the breadwinner that it's just a mental shift, and women aren't being paid the same, as you guys know. So how do we achieve pay equality through the law? First big deal is the Equal Pay Act of 1963. It is landmark legislation mandating equal pay for work. So the way this came about was during the first decades of the 20th century, women were making, even before that graph I showed you, women were 1/4 of the US workforce. But during World War II, due to labor shortages, it brought a huge number of women into the workplace so that by 1945, women were making up 1/3 of the workforce. And because women had traditionally earned less than men for doing the similar work, male workers feared that this growing source of cheap labor would replace them or lower their wages. So as men began to join the military and women began to take over their civilian jobs, unions wanted to advocate for equal pay. They felt that this would prevent employers from undercutting future wages for men when they returned. Also, the National War Labor Board endorsed the idea of equal pay for equal work. They issued a general order supporting equal pay for men and women for work that was, quote, of comparable quality and quantity. So a short 18 years later or so, we finally get the Equality or Equal Pay Act of 1963. Signed in by John Kennedy. It's actually an amendment to the Fair Labor Standards Act of 1938, which regulates minimum wages, overtime, child labor. Basically, Equal Pay Act prohibits sex-based wage discrimination between men and women in the same establishment who perform jobs that require substantially equal skill, effort, and responsibility under similar working conditions. And spoiler alert, we don't have equal pay as of 1964. So, as great as that is, it also only limits it to pay. Then there's a lot of things outside of pay that women are being discriminated against in their jobs. Okay, there we go. So, next year, the Civil Rights Act of 1964, we get Title VII, which really just says you can't treat men better because they're men. I mean, obviously the Civil Rights Act and Title VII say a lot of things, the things that are appropriate or apropos to what we're talking about is this. So that doesn't limit it to just equal pay. It addresses all forms of discrimination. Let's see, my notes here show, under Title VII, an employer can't discriminate with regard to any term, condition, or privilege of employment. So things like recruiting, hiring, promoting, transferring, training, disciplining, discharging, assigning work, measuring performance, or providing benefits. Now, this also establishes the Equal Employment Opportunity Commission. I'm going to call it the EEOC. Do I have a slide? Oh, okay, I don't have a slide on that one. So when I refer to the EEOC, it's the Equal Employment Opportunity Commission, which is created under Title VII, which is developed to ensure equality of opportunity by vigorously enforcing federal legislation prohibiting discrimination in employment, particularly discrimination on the basis of religion, race, sex, color, national origin, age, or disability. You know, not a small task. So it's an important organization. So 1965 does not usher in an era of equal treatment at work for everybody, unsurprisingly. Next, so there are a variety of little bills here and there, but the next really huge jump is the Lilly Ledbetter Fair Pay Act of 2009, right? That's quite a few decades afterwards. But the story here is that Lilly Ledbetter was a production supervisor at Goodyear Tire and Rubber. After she discovered that her male peers were receiving a substantially higher pay for similar roles, she filed a complaint with the EEOC, that organization I talked about. And there were multiple lawsuits going on for years. In one, she was awarded $3.3 million of back pay. I mean, that's what they thought she earned. But eventually she goes to the Supreme Court, who in 2007 ruled that claims like hers had to be filed within 180 days of the employer's decision to pay a worker less, even if she did not learn about the unfair pay until years after the discrimination began. As a result, she never collected any kind of settlement from Goodyear. Now, that's why the Lilly Ledbetter Fair Pay Act had to be enacted. Under it, it actually updates Title VII's statute of limitations. So now it says that the 180-day statute of limitations for filing an equal pay lawsuit regarding pay discrimination resets with each new paycheck affected by that discriminatory action. it was actually such an important piece of legislation that it was the first piece of legislation signed into law by President Obama. So that's how groundbreaking it was, just by changing the statute of limitations. Yay! Okay. So we've got these great laws, and obviously still a lot of issues. I mean, you guys know about pay equality. Still a lot of issues with pay equality despite a lot of laws. So how do we get pay equality? Like, what is the actual process? If you feel like you're being discriminated at work, do you go under the Equal Pay Act? Do you sue under Title VII? How does it even work? Well, oh, there we go. Sorry, I've got like 1,000 pictures of this one woman making various faces. You'll see a few of them. So what do? You can either, I mean, and these are just very general, broad suggestions here, but in general, you can either go to the EEOC and make a complaint for violations of Title VII or the Equal Pay Act. They're required to investigate. If probable cause is found, they assist to settle outside of court. And then once all that's done, now the employee can take the employer to court if you go through the EEOC. And a lot of people, they do have a case under both the Equal Pay Act and Title VII. Let's see here. Right, so the problem is, if you do have a case under both the Equal Pay Act and Title VII, the statute of limitations for Title VII complaints is only 180 days in most states. When the charge is filed, the statute of limitations stops running. However, the statute of limitations under the Equal Pay Act does not stop running after you file a complaint with the EEOC. While the EEOC is investigating your Equal Pay Act claim, the statute of limitations is still running. So if it holds onto the claim for several years, you actually run the risk of the statute of limitations on the Equal Pay Act claim expiring. That's bad. Your other option, if it is only an Equal Pay Act lawsuit, or if it's only an issue with the Equal Pay Act, you can just go directly to court. You can take your employer to court. It does have a statute of limitations of 2 years and 3 for willful discrimination. And so these are things that you really need to keep in mind. And I'm sure that this has caused a lot of problems for many women. Now, awesome, problem solved. By the way, I feel so bad for this like stock image of a dude laughing because he really plays the bad guy in this whole presentation. Obviously, the presentation is not solved. I'm just going to show you some statistics. These are the charges that the EEOC has received for the fiscal years 2015 to 2017. As you can see, surprisingly, the biggest issue is retaliation by employers.
Wow.
It's when which is when an employer punishes an employee for engaging in legally protected activity. Retaliation can include any negative job action, such as demotion, discipline, firing, salary reduction, job or shift reassignments, even, stopping a contract with with one of your family members, that kind of thing. Just anything they do to get back at you for trying to do what you are legally entitled to do. All right, so there's a problem here because the prohibition against retaliation, you're not allowed to retaliate, but it only covers employees who initiate a complaint or a lawsuit. Any conduct up to that point is not covered. This is a problem because companies have really restrictive policies that penalize employees from disclosing or discussing their salaries with coworkers, which often prevents or deters workers from discovering wage inequalities. second big issue. Here's what happens when things go through the EEOC. Only 10% of the complaints are settled, whether formally or informally. 85% are found to have no issue or are closed for administrative reasons, which includes the charging party deciding not to pursue their case, lack of communication, withdrawal request from the charging party, right? So these are pretty discouraging statistics. I don't know everything about the EEOC and what they do, but it would seem that if only 10% of the complaints are settled, then a lot of very valid complaints are not being taken care of properly. And lastly, we still have this damn wage gap. So this chart is from Pew. It compares median hourly earnings as a percentage of a white man's earnings. So that second to top line is 100% of a white man's earnings. And I want to bring this up because we always talk about the wage gap between men and women, but the wage gap between women of various races is ridiculous. As much as we complain about earning 82% on a man's dollar, for Black women, that's 65%. And for Hispanic women, that's 58%. So we really need to be fighting for everyone here and to recognize that as bad as 82% is, it's actually way better than our sisters who are not white. All right. The problem is not solved, obviously. So how do we achieve pay equality through the law? I purport that the biggest barrier really is ignorance. So a lot of the problem stems from the fact that we see these statistics and we don't think it's happening to us. My boss is so nice and caring. There's no way that would happen here. Oh, my boss is a woman. She'd never do that to another woman. You know, even if everybody above you really is actually a genuinely superlative human, there is unconscious bias. So they may not even be aware that they are discriminating or paying women or people of color less. Now, let's see here. So how can we use our legal protections if we don't even know it's happening? We're ignorant of what our coworkers make. It's taboo to talk about money just in general in our society, and that ends up putting more money in our employers' pockets. There's an issue of pay secrecy. Many people believe that they aren't legally allowed to discuss pay with coworkers. And many companies put rules in the handbook. They imply it. There's non-disclosure agreements that make it seem like it's illegal. And the best data I've seen said that half of employees report discussing pay is either discouraged or prohibited at work. However, under the National Labor Relations Act of 1935, private sector employees have the right to engage in, and I'm going to quote here, concerted activities for the purpose of collective bargaining or other mutual aid or protection, which means in 2020 vernacular, you and your coworkers can talk about the thing that matters to you at work, like compensation. So you are legally allowed to discuss pay with your coworkers. Now, this doesn't actually cover supervisors, independent contractors, agricultural laborers, among others. It doesn't apply to a lot of jobs like federal, state, or local governments, although I think that's public information anyways, so I'm not sure about there. Or employers subject to the Railway Labor Act, which includes railroads and airlines. Now, we also don't know what our value in the market is. There's a lot of statistics out there and Glassdoor. I mean, you can find in general what somebody should be making of your education level and whatnot, but it's hard to find good statistics. And lastly, we just don't know our rights. We don't know that we are allowed to talk about pay with coworkers. We don't know about all the laws that are there to protect us. So I believe the biggest barrier really is ignorance. There are also other barriers, like using prior salary as a basis of new salary, and I'm going to address that in a minute. And also women who negotiate are viewed just way more harshly than men, right? Which always plays against us. Pay disclosure. Okay. In September of 2016, there was a rule that companies with more than 100 people have to submit compensation data according to gender, race, and ethnicity. Now, what I was talking about before, that one of the main issues is we don't know our value. We don't know what our coworkers are getting paid. This is huge. This allows you to learn what your value is and if you're getting underpaid. It's amazing data because you can actually get this kind of amazing data from about 54 million Americans. I mean, no matter how great Glassdoor is, I think that that would be far superior, far superior. September 30th, 2019 was the first due date that this data was going to come in from 2017 and 2018. And 89% of companies who had to do it did report it. They sent in all their information. So that's solved, right? That ignorance is solved. Yeah, no. So in February, just a few months ago, the program is stopped. Let's see here, where is the, there's a lot of reasons, they're all BS that the program is stopped. It's a great program. It would have gone a long, long way to closing the wage gap between genders and races. So I'm quite annoyed about that, as you can see. But there is good news. Prior salaries are no longer allowed to be discussed in the hiring process, sort of. This just happened. So in the very beginning of July, the Supreme Court left in place the decision that employers can't use past salary history to justify a pay disparity between male and female employees. What happened was a teacher named Eileen Rizzo found out she was making $13,000 less than a new male employee who had less experience, less seniority, and less education than she did. She was told by HR it was because his salary was based on his last job. And after 8 years, the Supreme Court just said, yeah, no, you can't do that. You see, the problem is that basing current salary on past positions really incentivizes businesses to perpetuate the wage gap, which is antithetical to the Equal Pay Act. Now, a lot of states do actually outlaw it, or municipalities. I'll tell you, though, that in Wisconsin, we actually went the exact opposite. Wisconsin is only one of 2 states which has blocked local governments from salary history bans. So Wisconsin said no local governments can outlaw asking about that. Sorry, there's way too many negatives in that statement. I'm just going to read the sentence again that I wrote down. Wisconsin is one of 2 states which has blocked local governments from salary history bans. Kind of BS. There is a ton of data that shows that when you do this, the wage gap gets much smaller. But another big ray of light here is the Paycheck Fairness Act, which has been bandied about for a few years now. It updates the Equal Pay Act. It provides the updates to make the Equal Pay Act a far more effective legal tool for women. Because as it is now, it's really not been able to achieve its promise of closing the wage gap because of limited enforcement tools and inadequate remedies. Some examples of what the Paycheck Fairness Act does: it would strengthen the remedies for equal pay violations and ensure women can obtain the same damages as those subject to discrimination on the basis of race or national origin. It would also prohibit retaliation, which is one of those things I mentioned before. It would prohibit retaliation against employees who ask questions about their employer's wage practices or talk to colleagues about their own pay. It would also modernize the Equal Pay Act so that women could band together in class action suits as they can under other employment discrimination statutes, which will help to challenge systemic pay discrimination. It closes that factor other than sex loophole, which sounds, you know, if you're not a lawyer, sounds like what? Basically, the factor other than sex loophole, let me find my notes. That defense has to be based, it says, I'm sorry. Give me a sec to get my notes together. Here, where did I put that? All right, so there are multiple factors that a business can say, no, it's totally okay that we pay this person less, which does make sense. Like, if they have a seniority clause, like if you're just there longer, you make more money, then that's okay. But one of those is called the factor other than sex defense. And so the Paycheck Fairness Act says, well, the defense has to be based on a bona fide job-related factor such as education, training, or experience that is consistent with business necessity. And in addition, it specifies that a factor will not qualify as an affirmative defense. And I got this from the American law something or other, so it's very legally. It specifies that a factor will not qualify as an affirmative defense if the employee can demonstrate that the employer refuses to adopt an existing alternative business practice that would serve the same business purpose without producing a pay differential. Basically, this definition is modeled on business necessity standard used in courts by for Title VII discrimination cases. Okay, it actually does a lot, and I do link to the American Bar Association here that goes into a lot more detail about all the great things that Paycheck Fairness Act does. I found this timeline online. I just thought it was very funny. Oh, Irene, do you have a question? Yes.
Okay, just need to make sure everybody understands that the Paycheck Fairness Act has not been passed yet. So
yeah, sorry, I meant to make that.
Form, it's not yet.
No, yeah, so it's just being bandied about by our legislators. Oh, so we still need that because it gets rid of that retaliation issue. And it just strengthens the Equal Pay Act a lot, which helps deter future violations. I just thought this chart was pretty funny. I found that online. Hopefully it won't take till 2119 for equal pay. But the Paycheck Fairness Act is a really great first step. If we can make businesses actually put in, send all of their paycheck information broken down by sex, race, etc., and get that kind of data out to the American public, that'll go a long, long way to helping stop, eliminate, reduce the wage gap. So that is what I got for you guys. Achieving pay equality through the law, slowly but surely, she said with a question mark at the end of her statement. Okay, let me escape out of here and stop sharing somehow.
Wow, Kate, that was really thorough.
Yes, it was. Yeah.
That was awesome.